where to start. And it's also cost prohibitive for a lot of them, and they don't know who to approach about getting a license. And it's a skill a lot of them already possess. So a lot of them just don't know what a license would add to their lives.
There are some organizations working to help more hair braiders get licensed. What are their arguments for expanding access to licenses among workers?
So some of the arguments in favor of licensure are that it would bring formality to the profession. It would bring a sort of standardization because you have to go through X, Y, Z in order to get a license. And so if you see someone who has a license, you know that they've done certain things in order to get it.
What are the limits of licensure?
So licensing, from what I've heard in talking to braiders, doesn't magically solve their issues. It doesn't immediately give them protections. It doesn't make the braiding any less painful. A license is not going to alleviate the physical toll of braiding.
You can read Horasia Tall's story on harpersbazaar.com. Horasia, thank you very much.
Thank you.
WNYC is supported by the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York, offering rest and rejuvenation retreats with daily classes in yoga, tai chi, meditation, the arts, and more, June through October. More information at eomega.org/rest.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm Rebecca Kesby, and on today's NewsHour, we'll be on the front line of the world's forgotten war in Yemen, looking at the human cost and the political obstacles. The current heat waves are only happening because of climate change, says a new report. And where is the Chinese foreign minister? That's BBC NewsHour coming up at 9 on WNYC.
Afternoon showers and thunderstorms likely today, mostly sunny and mid-80s. Tomorrow, sunny and mid-80s once again. And then on Thursday, mostly sunny and gusty. But Thursday and Friday, those temperatures go up for high temperatures in the mid-90s, but it's going to feel like it's 105. Again, right now, 76 and partly sunny in the city at 8:51.
Words have power to shake markets, and so do words left unsaid.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by the new Glassdoor app. Professionals can now join real, anonymous conversations within their company, industry, and communities and get answers about careers on Glassdoor. And by C3 AI. C3 Generative AI provides ChatGPT enterprise search that is verifiable, secure, and accurate across all enterprise data. C3.ai. This is Enterprise AI.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. First negotiations between the delivery company UPS and the Teamsters Union are set to restart today. They're trying to hammer out a new 5-year agreement and avert a strike at the end of this month. The end of the month is quite soon. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer has details.
The Teamsters represent more than 300,000 UPS employees, package handlers, loaders, drivers. Negotiators have already made some progress. UPS has agreed to install air conditioning in delivery trucks. It's also going to eliminate a 2-tiered pay structure for drivers, and it'll get rid of forced overtime on scheduled days off. The two sides are still at odds over how much part-time workers make. If these issues can't be resolved before the union contract expires July 31st, the Teamsters say they'll go on strike. At the same time, FedEx pilots have rejected a tentative agreement. They're expected to reopen negotiations with FedEx, probably under the supervision of the National Mediation Board. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Now to the power of words to move markets and an economy. Leaders in China are signaling today they won't crack down as heavily on that country's real estate firms, which are dangerously in debt. The signal wasn't actually words, but words that are now missing. Here's the oft-repeated official phrase in China that was not repeated. Ready? Homes are for living in, not speculation. The absence of that phrase was enough to send two indexes of Chinese property shares skyrocketing 12% and 7% today. Marketplace's Nova Safo explains why.
China's government has been trying to right the ship in its property sector since August 2020. That's when it introduced its so-called 3 red lines policy and that infamous speculation phrase. The crux of the policy was limiting the wild borrowing undertaken by property developers, but that meant they were unable to finish construction of many apartment buildings. Some buyers even staged a mortgage boycott. And China Evergrande Group, a developer with hundreds of millions of dollars in debt, defaulted. Many others defaulted too. Now, China's leaders are dropping the speculation phrase and say it's time to adapt. The last time they changed tone like this, they slowly got rid of their tough COVID restrictions. Investors are hoping the same will be true for the property sector as well. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
Hong Kong's Hang Seng stock index closed up more than 4% today. A key index in Shanghai closed up almost 3%. Here, Dow futures are down slightly. S&P futures up slightly at the moment. Yesterday, the Dow closed up 0.5%. The 11th day in a row the Dow closed up. NASDAQ futures at the moment up 0.3%. The Federal Reserve begins its 2-day meeting on interest rates today. Tomorrow, rates will go up by 0.25 percentage point to fight inflation. If they don't go up, unlikely. Or if it's more than 0.25 point, unlikely. I'll call you.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business. From small business to big enterprise and everything in between, Amazon Business helps simplify the supplies buying process. Amazon Business, your partner for smart business buying. And by Indeed, a hiring solution that helps businesses attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. More at Indeed.com/hire. And by Grammarly, offering Grammarly Business to help companies large and small communicate better and move faster with enterprise-grade generative artificial intelligence. Learn more at Grammarly.com/business.
It's been nearly 6 years since Hurricane Harvey flooded the Houston region. The water caused an enormous $150 billion in damage. There's a deadline next month, August, for thousands of residents to get compensation for when reservoirs backed up into their homes. Houston Public Media's Andrew Schneider reports.
Maria Perez and Lisa Johnson bought their house in Northwest Houston 9 years ago, not long after they married. Their home was actually within the boundary of the Addicks Reservoir. Perez says they didn't really think about what that meant.
When we bought the house, they checked that it had not flooded in a 1,000-year record, so I guess we weren't concerned about it so much.
When Harvey hit, more than 3 feet of water flooded their home. Johnson lost her grandmother's china cabinet. Perez lost her wedding dress and suffered from asthma attacks during the cleanup. But the worst affected was their eldest son, then 2, who was so traumatized he wouldn't talk for a year after the storm. Perez says she wants the federal government to compensate her family so they can move somewhere safer.
Literally at the end of the block, there's a sign for the Addicks Reservoir, and it's a daily reminder. Every time I come out my street at the stop sign, it's right in front of me. And it's a daily reminder of what could possibly happen again.
Rocio and Jose Perez, no relation to Maria, also live within the reservoir, and their home flooded too. Rocio Perez says cleaning up the contaminated house made her husband deathly ill. She says doctors told her it nearly cost Jose his life.
They told him that he was going to die because he had E. coli and it had got all in his organs, in his system.
The two couples joined a lawsuit against the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That agency built the Addicks and the neighboring Barker Reservoir back in the 1940s to protect downtown Houston from flooding. A judge ruled the Corps knowingly didn't buy enough land to adequately store the water in case of a major flood. It had imposed a flowage easement, assuming the right to store water on land it didn't own. And Charles Irvine, co-lead counsel for the plaintiffs, says if residents don't sue, they're effectively giving away money.
Those flowage easements will be claimed by the federal government for nothing.
The judge ruled residents are entitled to compensation, but they must file claims individually. Irvine says the deadline is August 28th, 6 years after Harvey.
People in the upstream area who do not file will lose their right forever.
Of the estimated 10,000 to 12,000 property owners flooded within the reservoirs, fewer than half have filed claims to date. Meanwhile, the federal government is appealing the judge's ruling. The U.S. Department of Justice declined to comment for this story, citing the active litigation. In Houston, I'm Andrew Schneider for Marketplace.
All right, August 28th. Our producers are James Graham, Ollie Delbertanson, Ariana Rosas, Alex Schroeder, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Meredith Gerritsen-Morby. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. Here from APM, American Public Media.